Are you ready to go back in time? I have here in my hands the Princess Leia card from the Star Wars collectible card game that was started in 1995. That's right, I've got a whole binder here full of common cards and rare cards. All the cards. I have if you lived back then you remember this, a Scry, that's right, a Guide to Collector's Card Games from 1998 featuring the Star Wars collectible card game. Well, here's the thing. That series ended in 2001, I believe. But the interest in Star Wars card games didn't stop there. We've seen Star Wars the deck building game, and now there's a new kid on the block. You want to meet him? Howdy and welcome back. I'm Mike, your board gaming every dude, and this is Star Wars Unlimited. Before we can take a look, we need to get some cards, right? So we're going to go to cardtrader.com, and that's the sponsor for today's video. The link to cardtrader.com is in the description. It's also in a pinned comment. So the first thing I want to do is look for some cards. And I've looked at some different sites and ways to get cards, and I do think this is the best one that I've run across. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And let's say I just want to buy a single card. All right, so I can look at bestsellers. I could always search for a card, but again, I'm a newbie, so I really don't know what to search for. I just want to get an idea of what is this. So I could take a look here. Let's look at Shadows of the Galaxy right here. We can see it's starting at $2.36. That's lower than what the market price is, so it gives me a comparison. What Card Trader is it's basically an international hub for card buyers and sellers to come together and exchange so that they can save on shipping and find deals. So let's say I wanted to do this final showdown right here. I could actually take a look at it. Sometimes it will show the variants because cards can have the original that was printed as well as a variant of artwork, even though it has the same abilities. Again, that's way too advanced for me. Look at market values and all that stuff, but all of that's a whole lot. All I really care about is getting the card. So let's say that I want this card. I could add it to my cart, or I could use over here what's called Card Trader Zero. And what that is that's a nice way to save on shipping if you're buying multiple cards. So I would click on the Card Trader Zero, and it adds it to my Zero cart. What that means is then when I'm ready to check out, I can buy from all kinds of different sellers around the world. I can have them shipped to the Card Trader Zero hub, where they are checked for quality. And then whenever I'm ready, I can have all of those cards or just some of them shipped to me for one shipping fee. That is the strength of using this site. But again, that is too advanced for me today. Today, all I want is another starter pack. Y'all saw I have the Star Wars Unlimited Spark of Rebellion starter pack. I want the next one. So let's go there. All right, so I'm going to go the newbie way, which is just click on starter decks. All right, good. I can see Spark of Rebellion. I already have that. I want to look for a deal for Shadows of the Galaxy. I'm going to add it to my Card Trader Zero cart. Yay! Okay, so let's go on over to checkout. Also, I'm going to be sure to type in my code here, Geek Deals, my discount code for 5% off of my first order. That code is valid for you as well. So when you check out, you can use that. You get 5% off. Let's jump to the future and let's open my box. So inside, we should have 2 player mats, 2 decks, so this should be ready to play for 2 players. There is no solo mode yet in Star Wars Unlimited, so this will help me fill out my 2-player shelf, which is sadly lacking right at the moment. However, you can build a deck all by yourself. Come on out. There we go. Okay, cool. And we also should have some tokens and counters. Awesome. Look at that. Okay, we got everything out. Let's take a look at our mats. The mats are player mats and posters. So on the one side, we're going to have the Mandalorian, as you can see here. And on the, just like when you were a teenager in the 90s, except the Mandalorian wasn't around, pretend he was. And then an upside down, now right side up. Love it. Right side up playmat. Your opponent is going to be exactly the same, except Moff Gideon is on the one side. There we go. Don't you rip. There we are. Moff Gideon. Right there. And then the playmat on the other side. And you know what? I think I'd actually like to play as Moff Gideon. So we're going to pretend our opponent has their mat on the other side. We're going to set up on this side. Then we have our little deck boxes, which I like because Lorcana didn't come with a nice little deck box like this. to hold the cards. So you got Moff Gideon there. Easy to put together. I'll take it. But let's see. Whose deck is this? And I actually prefer this paper wrapping over the shrink wrap for cards because it's hard to open. And it might be a little better for the environment. I am no expert. Yay, this is the one I wanted. Okay, so each one of these starter decks comes with 50 cards and everything that you need if you don't know what you're doing, including a rule book. It's going to come with a leader. Your leader goes right here. That's how they start out. They've got a cool epic action. They're going to be able to help you out later. You also start out with a base. How do you win the game? You win the game by defeating your opponent's base. So look here. I have 30 defense or health. I'm probably just going to call it defense in this video. Because I'm a newbie, I can get away with this stuff. I might not be able to get away with that next time. Anyway, I have 30 defense points. So does my opponent. If I attack their base and I take away 30 defense points, I win. Other way around, I lose. That's it. That's how you win and lose. All right, cool. Then I've got my deck that I'm going to build. It's going to be filled with different units, upgrades, events. You'll notice some of these cards are going to say ground. Some of them are going to say that they are in space, like Outland, the Vanguard. So what we want to do with this is shuffle all of these lovely cards. Oh, Gideon's Light Cruiser. That's fun. Shuffle all these lovely cards together in order to make our deck. Something else you're going to want to know, you don't need to worry about it now. This is once we get more advanced and we start building our own deck, we're going to pay attention to these aspects. This color right here. So notice there's an aspect on the base, it's blue, and then there's two aspects on every leader, green and whatever that is, black or purple. My deck is basically going to be founded by those things. You can add other aspects, but it may not be to your advantage unless you're super advanced and you know what you're doing. So you're going to notice those three aspects on most of these cards. Then my opponent, of course, will have their own Mando deck with their mat. You've got your leader, the Mandalorian, his base, the remote village of Sorgan. You'll see it's also 30 points as well as all of the cards. Some of them are shared, but you'll notice some different aspects. They both share the blue aspect, but he's using this yellow and greenish colored thing. And each one of those aspects has its own like strengths and weaknesses to help guide what kind of deck you want to build. But we don't have to worry about that because we're newbies. We're also going to come with our damage tokens right here. I mean, the 10s, I'll get to it eventually. And your 1s, come out of there. Oh my goodness, I did it right this time. As well as your initiative token, and we'll cover what that is. And your epic action ability thing that for you to place once you use that epic action for the game, you'll know it's done. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard for me to get used to the paper mats that seem standard for trading card games. If you want to deluxify it, I'm sure there's a mat out there to find. Then you get the instruction booklet, which is super simple, gives you the overview, how to play the game, but you don't have to worry about that because I'm gonna show you. First of all comes setting up the game. You have your base, your leader, and your deck. You're going to draw 1, 2, 3. Hello, upside down. I didn't shuffle well. 4, 5, 6. It's almost like I'm not a professional or something. Oh my goodness. Gravy Davis. Take a look at your cards. You have the opportunity to do a mulligan, which just means you can remove some cards if you really don't want to. You can mulligan that deck and refill up to 6. It's a good idea to do that if you don't have any low-cost cards. The cost is in the upper left here. I'm not going to worry about it for this setup. Now I'm going to pick 2 cards to convert to resources. I'm going to take the 2 highest cost ones because I'm just not going to be able to use those anytime soon. So there we go. I have 2 resources to use and I have 4 cards in my hand. Do paper, rock, scissors, or whatever you like to determine who the first player is and they get the initiative counter. It's going to be me because I say so. The game takes place in rounds where each one of you takes a turn with 1 action and then it goes to your opponent. They take 1 action back to you, back and forth until both of you pass in a row. Then it ends the round and you go to the regroup phase. The game ends when somebody applies the final damage to destroy their opponent's base. There are 5 things I can do, 5 actions that I can take during my turn. One of them is playing a card into either the space units or the ground units. In order to know how to play a card, we kind of need to look at a card anatomy. So let's do that real quick. Looking at the top left of every card is the cost. What that means is for me to put this in play, well, that would actually go there because it's ground. For me to put that in play, I must be able to pay that cost with my resources. What do I have? 2 resources. How do you pay? You exhaust the resources by turning them to the side. Once a resource is exhausted, you don't get to use it until the regroup phase when they are refreshed, or until a card tells you to refresh. That's an important side point of trading card games and just card games in general. There are the base rules, and then there are rules on the cards. The rules on the cards always trump the base rules. Now that we know the cost, we can look at the top to see what type of card it is. We see this is a unit, and it's a ground unit. That means it can only be placed where it says ground units. Easy. We've also got space units. That means it can only be placed in space units. Yay! And then we also have events. Events don't get placed anywhere. They just get played immediately. You read the directions, you do the thing, and then you put it in the discard. But notice, they have a cost as well. So a cost of 1, spend 1 resource, do the thing, good night. And then we have upgrades. Upgrades also have a cost that must be paid, and we have to read the directions to see where it can be placed. Sometimes it can only be placed in certain places. What an upgrade card does is it attaches to a unit. And once attached, it gives them some kind of special benefit. In this case, it gives them a keyword of the bounty condition. This is a particularly interesting one because you don't attach it to one of your units like most of these upgrades do. You actually attach this to an opponent's unit to put the bounty on them. Another example of an upgrade, this one says attached to a friendly unit. That would be me. I would go, boom, yay. All right, let's keep learning. Every card will have a title. It just tells you what it is. Fantastic. There might be some words here telling you what type of card. It's an Imperial Trooper. There might be keywords. Sometimes keywords matter. You've got a nice reference down here. You might have keywords like bounty or sentinel. Like sentinel determines who you're allowed to attack. All those things. Just check it out. Then you have your attack power over here. So this has an attack power of 2. What that means is when I attack an opponent's card, they're going to take 2 damage by me putting 2 damage counters on them. I have 2 defense. What that means is once I get a second attack marker, this one is out. They go into my discard pile. And then of course you have special instructions. Just read it, do what it says. So now that we understand that, our first action option to play a card, I'm going to spend the resources of 2 so that I can place this space unit right here. Whenever you place a unit in play, it enters exhausted. Just like with resources, when a unit is exhausted, you cannot use it until it is refreshed. Let's say that I have a card that has been refreshed and I want to attack. That's the second action that I can take instead if I would like. How do you do that? You pick one of your units that you want to use as the attacker and you exhaust it. You pick an opponent's target to attack. Then both of you at the same time exchange damage. In this case, I would apply 2 damage to their card, and they would apply damage to mine. So let's say I put 2 on their card. Yay! Let's say they had an attack of 1. So I take 1 damage. My health is 2, so I'm still in the game. But if they applied a second one, I would have to put this one in the discard pile. When you attack, you also want to check your description, the keywords of your card, as well as the opponent's card that you're attacking, as those can modify this attack. Let's pretend both of these are refreshed. A third action that you could take instead would be to use an ability on a card. Now, neither of these cards has it, and in these starter decks, I don't see it often, but sometimes they're, like this one says, when played. But some will have an ability right here that will say, spend 1 resource to do the thing, or exhaust another unit to do the thing. That would be one of your action choices. Let's say you don't want to do any of that. A fourth action choice would be to take the initiative counter. Now, you might want to do this even if you have the initiative right now. What this does is it allows you to go first at the beginning of the next round. So instead of doing anything else, I would say I'm going to take initiative, and I would put it right here. That means that I have passed for every future turn until the round ends. When you take initiative, your opponent cannot take it away from you. Instead, the round will end when they pass. And finally, let's say you didn't take the initiative, but you just don't want to play any cards for this turn, but you might want to in the next turn. What you can do is just pass for this turn. What that means is you take no action, so you say pass, and your opponent gets to take their turn. Now, if they take a turn, they make an action, then when it comes back to you, you can take an action. However, if you pass and then they immediately pass after, as already mentioned, that will end the round. Which takes us to the regroup phase. Let's pretend that all of these are exhausted. Yay, what fun. And let's pretend those are in the discard. First thing you do is each one of you gets to draw 2 cards. Of those 2 cards, you're allowed to place one of them as a resource if you would like. There's an advantage in gaining resources, one, because you have more resources to spend, but also sometimes your epic action says something like, in this case, if you control 5 or more resources, deploy this leader, which means I get to put him into play, which is pretty awesome. If I did that, the other card gets added to my hand, or if I kept both, then they would both get added to my hand. Then I get to ready all of my exhausted cards. Oh, thank goodness. Rinse and repeat. Okay, so we know how to play, so how do you go about building your deck? Because really, at least to me, that is the main draw of the game, even more than actually playing the game. I could just build decks and be quite happy with that. And I would be happy to do a video of just building a unique deck that suits my style. Or maybe you could give me suggestions. If you'd be interested in that, give a like, subscribe, let me know, comment what you would like to see. But to start out, I recommend absolutely start with one of these starter decks. It doesn't matter which one, just so you can get an idea of how the decks look. Then, once you have that down, that's where the Card Trader Zero part can help, because you're going to want to get booster packs to start out, because you may not know enough to get individual cards yet. Grab yourself a few booster packs, flip through, you'll see each one is going to include a base and a leader, as well as the other cards. I would like to do a video just on the booster packs if you would be interested in that. You'll notice, as mentioned earlier, each of your bases and leaders is going to have different aspects. So then it's going to be time to do a little research on those aspects and which ones are you most drawn to? Which 3 do you want to use? Or maybe you're just drawn to a certain leader and a certain base. Use that as your foundation. Then craft a deck from blending your booster packs and your starter decks into something that feels right for you. It might not be perfect, but just play around with it. Then it's time to go down the rabbit hole. And now you're going to be searching for individual cards that you want to add to your deck. That can be a money hole. It doesn't have to be. You can look for the discounts. You can get cheaper cards. Do not spend more than you can afford to spend to build the deck that you want. Being financially responsible for myself is important, and it's very important for me that my viewers are also encouraged and know that I am not trying to encourage anyone to spend money that they don't have. Be responsible and have fun with it. So do you want to try to build a deck? Have you built a deck? Let me know in the comments. That's it. I love you all. I'll see you next time.